Hello, everyone. My name is Karen McKinney. In my lecture today, I will focus on the Aboriginal languages of Australia. I will start my lecture with the definition of the word Aboriginal. Next, I will continue with Aboriginal languages throughout history. Then, I will talk about the extinction of Aboriginal languages. And finally, I will focus on why languages around the world die out and why it is a problem. Before I give the definition of the word Aboriginal, let me spell it for you. Aboriginal. Aboriginal. Okay, now let's talk about its definition. The word Aboriginal means existing from the earliest known times, and it mainly refers to the culture of the native peoples of Australia, which includes their languages too. In other words, Aboriginal languages. Now that you know the definition, let's move on to Aboriginal languages throughout history. Most people know that almost all Australian Aboriginal languages come from one family and originate from one original language, which people spoke thousands of years ago around the central north coast of Australia. Over time, many Aboriginal tribes moved from the central north coast of Australia over the whole continent and started speaking in different dialects, which developed into separate, different languages. It is estimated that almost 600 different tribal groups existed in Australia before white Europeans came there in the late 18th century, and they spoke around 250 different languages. So, what happened when they moved to other regions and countries? They took the language they knew with them. Therefore, the languages that they came into contact with were affected by them. As a result, some words from those Australian Aboriginal languages were adopted by other languages. The first words from an Aboriginal language to be recorded by an outsider were recorded by Captain Cook in 1770 and included the word kangaroo. Other words, such as boomerang and dingo, were also adopted into English. That is, people now use the words boomerang, dingo, and some other Aboriginal words in English. However, this was not the only way that Aboriginal languages and other languages affected each other. This brings me to the next part of my lecture, that is, the extinction of Aboriginal languages. When the people who spoke Aboriginal languages came into contact with other languages, most of them forgot their own language and their language became extinct. Today, in Australia, a country of 22 million people, about 55,000 people can speak an Aboriginal language. Only 55,000. Can you imagine? Unfortunately, the majority of Aboriginal people speak English as their first or second language. Out of the 250 languages that were spoken by Australians in the 18th century, today only about 100 Aboriginal languages are still used in everyday life in Australia. And out of these 100 Aboriginal languages that are currently used in Australia, only 20 languages are in good condition today, and people speak it in large communities, including children and young people who learn them as their first language. Among these 20 Aboriginal languages, Creole is the most widely spoken language. However, there are many Aboriginal languages which, unfortunately, have died out. Okay, now let's talk a bit about why languages die out. As you all know, not only Aboriginal languages, but also many other Aboriginal languages are dying out all over the world. There are several reasons for this, such as natural disasters that destroy all the people who speak a language, wars and other human conflicts that create the same result, etc. However, the main reason is the effect of major national languages. and English is the most influential among them. Due to globalization, the need to learn major national languages like English has increased dramatically, and this is the most important reason for the destruction of Aboriginal languages. According to research, half of the 6,000 languages which people speak worldwide today will disappear within the next century. This means that we will have only 3,000 languages in the future. When we look specifically at Australia, again the influence of English can be clearly observed. Since English is the medium of instruction at schools in Australia, they give more importance to learning English. Thus, more and more children are growing up without any knowledge of their ancestral language. Many people think that this is really sad, and it is actually a problem. But why do they think so? Well, language shows the culture of a group of people, so it is an expression of culture. People can communicate their ideas, beliefs, and customs by using their language. It also has an important social function. In other words, people who belong to a certain culture can better express their feelings to other groups and show their own culture using their own language. In short, language shows the culture and its traditions and values. So when people lose knowledge of their ancestral languages, they lose part of their cultures too, and this means without their language, their culture will eventually disappear. So in this lecture today, I tried to give some information on the Aboriginal languages of Australia by focusing on their history and the current situation. As I mentioned, languages are our wealth and part of our culture. We need to protect all the languages in the world, and people should continue to speak their native languages, although they feel the pressure of some major languages, such as English. If we don't do this, many cultures will be erased from the face of the earth, which means we will lose a part of our wealth. Next week, we'll focus on how people are trying to save some of the Aboriginal languages in Australia and America. I'll see you at our next lecture.